are up and running.
All right.
Okay. Now, I want to see if I can get a sneak peek here. Yep. Here we go. We are live. All right. I'll let everyone get here in a minute. We'll start with tonight, I do not have a snack. I only have my drink. I have my glass of wine. I'm drinking Seven Moons. It is a red blend that I think in honor of the full moon that it is about to storm here, so you cannot see it. But in honor of the full moon, I kind of like to have something thematic, and Seven Moons is perfect. So that's my drink of the night. I would have had a cinnamon roll, but I ate one earlier today. They were homemade by me and delicious. And Mitch, do you have a snack or anything to enjoy
I
tonight?
do, yes. I haven't poured my snack, but I just put pistachios in a bowl, which I'm going to pour now. I was
Nice.
rushing around tonight. And then I have a glass of water, which is really boring. But I went on a run today, and I was like, I need to drink some water.
Hydrate. Hydration is important. That is a good choice. So for our viewers tonight, we're gonna let Mitch put his pistachios in the bowl. I always like pistachios because they've got such a fun color, like that bright green.
Right? It's really so good, especially with navy.
It does. It looks really good.
Yeah.
So I met Mitch through a mutual friend, Curtis Brown, who's a photographer. He's in New York right now, but a Raleigh photographer. Mitch has the coolest house I think I've ever been in, and I will let you know. You'll figure out why by the end of our conversation. We hung out at his house. We've done a game night or two there. He's a designer, super interesting person, and in all of who else can I talk to? And I was like, I really don't know Mitch very well. I've hung out at his house. I know the cool things about his house, but I don't know a lot about Mitch. And so in I guess my journey of our friendship, I continued to follow Mitch on Instagram, and there was one of his Instagram lives that he did about a clash test. And if anybody knows me, I am a pattern mixer, and I love doing it. And I watched it, and I was like, ooh, I would totally do that. And things that he was like, oh, you might be a little nervous about doing this. I was like, I would do that in an instant. So I reached out to Mitch, and I was like, you know what? A little after that, and I was like, I'm doing a show. I loved your clash test. Power clashing is a thing for me. Do you want to come on my show? We can talk about power clashing. We can talk about decorating and design and having fun. And he was like, okay. So here's Mitch. And so, Mitch, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Let's see. So for work, I'm a residential designer, which means that I work in the many aspects of homes with design. These headphones are weird. I'm taking them out.
That's better. Feel more like a human. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Okay, good. So as a residential designer, that's a pretty broad term for anyone who works in the design of homes. I work with both kind of the structure of the building itself as well as the elements inside. So you could say I function like an architect and like an interior designer. And I work with Nancy, my work partner, and we're a two-person design team. And I'm based here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I was born and raised here, 2 brothers. I'm a middle child. I live here with my partner, Matt, who's in the next door over, and our dog, Gus, who I'm sure you'll see at some point tonight.
Yay!
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So I think that was one of the things for me I wanted, because I was like, I know Mitch is a designer, but I was like, there's nothing that says he's just one type of designer. So I really like that. That's really cool. What does your typical day look like? I guess almost now, but also before everything got crazy. It's a typical day for you?
Yeah, now, who knows what's typical now? But before things got crazy, we schedule our weeks so that on Mondays and Thursdays, we call them drawing days. So I stay home and I draw in 3D models and I draw plan sets for our clients who are doing construction projects. And then, so those days are kind of, they're also my catch-up days, like go to the grocery store, go swim when pools are open, indoor pools usually. But then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, we meet with clients. So those are the days that are the most exciting. We'll meet on job sites, in showrooms, at retail stores. We'll meet here in my house, which is also our office. We call it bungalow headquarters. Yeah. And so sometimes we're on construction sites, sometimes we're in people's houses. We're all over the place. So the days look different, but those days are usually with clients back and forth. A lot of our clients are here in Raleigh, but for now we're also like, we have some clients in Rocky Mount, a few at the beach, Chapel Hill, Mebane, a neighborhood in Mebane we may be designing. That one's in the queue. Yeah, so the days are different, but they're exciting.
That's fun. I remember watching, so truthfully, I like watch Mitch's Instagram. I love it. I was watching one day, you and Nancy had gone to the granite, like the rock quarry, if you were picking granite for someone. And you were like, it was so cool, guys. He had like the different, not, you know, like some people like have like, here's a block of cabinet and like holding it up. It was like very detailed of how Mitch and Nancy were like deciding what was going to go into somebody's home. And I thought it was like super interesting because just as somebody who's like, you appreciate a beautiful kitchen, you appreciate beautiful granite when you go into some place, but like the thought that goes into putting that in the right place of a home, I was like, oh, it's more than just like, I like that one. It's a thoughtful process. And so that for me, I was totally enthralled.
I love that. And I think for a designer, I'm a much more kind of logically inclined designer. I love cause and effect. I love to be able to explain to clients the reason for everything I recommend. And our process is super collaborative. So they're with the client. We are talking through why one piece of granite, we're at a granite yard, why one slab is going to give one effect, and how the paint colors we were considering would interact with that slab. Because to us, it's all about how the client feels in their space in the end. And so we try to weave that into every discussion we have so that the choice of what something looks like is only that kind of surface level that supports how the space functions and how they want to feel. So there's a lot that goes into every moment that we're making decisions, because these decisions are all multifaceted. They influence one another. It's this big like web, multi-dimensional web. And that's one of the many things I love about it. And it's also human. It's not just what colors look good together, but how do you feel? And people get really vulnerable with us and trust us and connect with us. And that's the best part. The house is just the house. It's all about the person that lives in it.
Yes, correct.
Oh, thank you.
I was gonna say, you answered, I think what's my next question would have been, what do you like most about your work? But I think you just kind of said that.
Yeah, well, I can jump into it. So I think that there is, first of all, there's the human side, which I really love, the fact that I get to work with people one-on-one, but then there's also huge potential there. So there's potential in terms of what the space could look like in the end, because we do mainly renovations. So we're going into homes that need some love, or where their owners want to give the house some love. They're wanting it to feel very different in the end. So there's this huge transformation, and people bring us in for that spatial transformation. But what I get to lead people through really is a personal relationship between them and their space. And for a lot of people who are not in the arts, this is going through a creative process in a new medium for one of the first times. So it's all about them kind of stepping out, understanding their sensitivities, because their sensitivities are like the pathway to their superpowers. If you're sensitive to color, that means that that's a power of yours. Like any amazing artist is super sensitive to the art that they accomplish, right? So we get to help our clients understand their sensitivities, understand their superpowers, as I call them. And then in the end, through this process, even after the project's done, they have these new skills that they can use, and they feel more comfortable making decisions in their space. So there's like this renovation of the space that's happening, but I get to watch kind of like this unearthing of the person in this new creative world. So that's the best part for me.
That's really, I guess when you are an artist, when you are immersed in art all the time, you don't think about people entering the art world for the first time. Because for me, I entered that as a little kid. So like, that's all I've ever known is like this crazy creative process of being allowed color and to make whatever I want. But I've never really thought of it in terms of stepping into a creative space that you've never really explored and having a solid guide through that to help you figure out what makes you feel. Because
yes,
being on stage, I know exactly what makes me feel. It's like when you have live music, that the reverb from like the instruments, and like you can feel it in your bones, and it's like, I know why I'm dancing. And so that's really cool to kind of relate it to that.
Absolutely.
Itself.
And we'll even do like visualizations with our clients in the beginning and try to get them to kind of hone in on that, you called it reverb, that vibration or frequency of how they want to feel in that room, and then refer to that frequency throughout the process as they make decisions. Does this slab of granite feel in line with that reverb, with that frequency, with that vibration? And then if you can just hone in on that vibration and make all of your choices based on that kind of integrated fundamental core, then it's going to feel amazing in the end. And it's not about the thousands of choices available. It quickly becomes obvious which ones could work in that situation.
I was gonna say, I'll ask it though. What's like your least favorite thing? Like at this point, I'm like, oh, I know there's always a least favorite thing of work, but like, what is yours?
Yeah, totally. Oh, a good answer for this one. It's that we get to have these incredible experiences with clients kind of one-on-one, the people who can afford to work with a designer, the people who own a home or are in a situation where they need help. And so my least favorite part of it is that so few people get to go through that with us. And so our kind of next step is figuring out, and Instagram is part of this, how can we connect with people who are hungry for this kind of content, or not even content, for this process, who know that they want to do something special in their space. They want their space to feel different, but they have either roadblocks in the way or obstacles, or just don't know where to start. So yeah, my least favorite part of my job is going to become my favorite part of my job when I figure this out.
Look at it. Just make it happen.
Make it happen. Easier said than done.
What's something, I guess, last thing, kind of specifically work related, but what's something you would love people to know about your work that they might not already know or might not get correct?
I think it's that when people think about design, well, there are lots of things here, but I think the one I'm going to choose to talk about now is that when people think about design, oftentimes they think about appearance. They think about how something looks in the end, the finishes, the colors. And like I mentioned before, that is just the surface level of design. And there are so many levels below that when you go down to function and you go down to feeling. And we like to start with feeling and then move to function to support the feeling, then move to the finishes, the form, the appearance that supports the function and the feeling. So I think that's one thing about my work that I would like people to know. And it's, I mean, I don't care whether people get a $5,000 sofa, a $50,000 sofa, or a $500 sofa. To me, it's not about labels. It's not about even quality, because some people aren't in a position where they need quality. They don't need a sofa to last a long time. Other people want to buy the sofa they will have for decades. So to me, it's really about honing into what someone needs and wants and what their resources available are. Some people have more time and energy and less money. Great, we'll spend your time and your energy together and we won't spend as much money. So I think that's just one of the big blocks to design that I would like to be able to chip away at, so that people feel like they can get into their space a little more.
Awesome. So now let's talk about power flashing.
Good.
So for me, I was saying earlier, I was looking around my apartment I have all solids. Everything is solid. My rug is patterned, and that's about it.
Uh-huh.
My outfits, however, a lot of times I think that's where I like go for it, because I love mixing patterns. Mixing patterns is like one way, I think, for me in my dressing to feel super empowered. One of my favorite, you can do almost anything these days. And with ballet leotards, there's Elevate Dance where you can customize your own leotard. There's a lot of custom leotards, but this particular one, great fit. They feel good, lots of different patterns, and a lot of florals. I love a good floral. So I was like, what do I do? And I had the hardest time picking a leotard fabric because all of these florals, I literally loved every single one of them. And one day I was like, I can't decide. So I'm going to do this black and white. I'm just gonna do a black and white leotard. It's stripes, it's polka dots. It's got solid black cheetah as the arms, but the cheetah it's a print, like a monochrome print.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite leotards because I'm like, I have put together stripes, spots, and cheetah spots, and it works. And there's other outfits that I have that I just really love mixing patterns, and I think for me it's empowering, but it's also a cool way to mix things that you wouldn't typically mix together, right?
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people are a little nervous about mixing patterns like that. And for me, my rule is I do a small pattern, large pattern, and they have the same colors in them. I don't know if the same rules apply for you, but I do. Pattern sizes matter, and the colors have to complement each other or have one similar color to pull them together.
Yeah. Okay. I like this. So you have like a very almost mathematical approach to how you clash, to how you power clash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think there's a handful of patterns and colors that I consider neutrals that I think are broad neutrals, like leopard, like animal prints. I'm like, that's a neutral. Like
yeah.
Nature. It occurs. Red is typically neutral for me. Yeah, those two. So I'll mix those with anything. So
yeah.
My favorite is like a big floral with a leopard print, and then just like a plain black t-shirt. And I love it.
Yeah. And if you think about us as a species, right, we've evolved in whatever way we have in the natural world, where we see, you look at a forest or you look at trees, you see the natural world, there are all these different greens, there are all these different shapes and all these organic forms that mix together. And there's the earth, and there's like the changing light of the sky. So our eyes can hold a lot of visual information. That's not overwhelming to us. And I think a lot of times, because we are creating what we're putting on, we start with these simple kind of solids. And I think that there's a lot of space that we can explore in how much kind of our own eye can take as the wearer and how much our viewers can take. And I think there's also this idea of kind of fitting in that is just natural, that I think we learn, many of us learn, I think, in school, right? Don't stand out too much, stand out enough to be kind of unique and maybe cool, but don't stand out too much, right? Like kind of go with the flow.
Don't be weird.
Yeah, don't be weird. And I think that there's so much space. I think we live in this area when we're in school. Like maybe they're the kind of creative ones, you know, with their outfits and the super neutrals, but then there's like all of this beyond that doesn't even get tapped into very often. And I think it's cool to be the person who is bold enough to try that. Or I think it's cool to be the viewer and watch someone and be like, wow, like they're doing something. It's exciting.
I'm scrolling. I think too, or in addition to, there's a satisfaction in a way of mixing things that feel like they shouldn't go together, like fries and Frosties. you would not think to put your potatoes in ice cream. But that's a wonderful combination.
Yeah, for sure. Because of the contrast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not your typical like sweet and salty combination. Like because I feel like there are those, like those type of dichotomies, like sweet and salty, or that's the only one I can think of right now. Like hot things and cold things, like I guess salads in a sense, like when you put hot protein on like a cold salad, people like that. I don't. It's not my favorite.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I think there's something to that contrast, right? And some foods that we eat have like a reasonable contrast that we're used to. And then, oh, here's Gus. Want to meet him?
Yes.
Gus, want to say hi? Oh, here he is.
Yes. Gus is a cute.
You want to say hi to Carmen? He looks like nervous right now or something. Probably because he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, he's like, what's happening? What is this? He's like, I don't see her for real here.
But I hear her voice. I can't smell her or anybody that I'm seeing on this screen. Yeah, so I was saying, I think that there are these kind of safe contrasts that we see, like warm protein on a cool salad, salt on chocolate, you know, these things that have been established. But there's so much space to do like larger contrast and really mix it up. So I've been thinking a lot about power clashing since you made that comment on Instagram, because I was like, I don't think I really do a lot with power clashing, at least not like with patterns and such. So then I was like wanting to split apart like the mechanics of power clashing. And I was like, okay, so there's power and there's clashing. And I think that there's power that comes from being really intentional about what you're doing, right? So it's kind of like you're setting up the clash, you're setting up the contrast. So you have to be really careful about every other aspect of what you're creating so that the aspect that you choose to clash is really sharp and feels like it's meant to be. If you walk into a space and there are different patterns everywhere, different colors, and you know the sofas are just kind of haphazardly arranged, and it doesn't look like they've thought about lighting, it just looks like an accident. It looks like a mess. It's not like, oh, wow, look at all these power clashes. It's like, oh, I don't want to be here. Or you just don't even have a thought about it because it just feels like forgotten. But if instead you walk into a space that has really carefully placed furniture that's well scaled and the lighting is right, and you know there's like music and a candle is lit, and then you have like crazy patterns all over the couches, it's like, oh, like this is a thing. This wasn't accidental. This is powerful. And so then it opens up your mind to be like, okay, why did they choose these patterns? And why is it that I thought they shouldn't have? Like, why is this a reaction I'm having? I think that power clashing is powerful in its own right, kind of in the medium you're using, but then it opens up your brain to think differently about like everything. It really like launches you into a more creative mindset where it's kind of like, well, she doesn't think she needs to match things or coordinate. So I've been trying to match and coordinate my whole life. I should just live.
That's really, and I think for me, like when I personally go into a space and like, I think what is most appealing to me, I love color. So when I see like color just really gives me a lot of energy. It's the bright, I mean, my couch is yellow velvet. I mean, that's why I'm not sitting on it, because I'm like, I would just like disappear into it. This but I really thrive off of that. So when I see in different magazines and different art, like design things, when it's a lot going on, like I'm definitely not a minimalist. Like that doesn't work for me. But when it's like, here's a gallery wall with pictures that don't go together at all, like modern photography and like an oil painting from like goodness knows how long ago, and like a Dutch master over there too, like all of that mixing of things, I'm like, I get so much energy from the mismatch. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I could do because there's no more box anymore. The box is gone.
Yeah, the box is eradicated. I love that. And people so often want to fit all of their photos into the same size or to matching frames. And that has its own effect. I mean, maybe they don't want the photos to take over the room, and so they do that. But it's really nice when it is a gallery wall and it's a focal point to kind of let it live and breathe and contrast and bring in some of those organic feelings and not have everything quite so regimented. It's like the difference for me between going to Washington, D.C., which is like a planned city where nothing can be higher than, I think, something on the top of the Capitol, and going to New York, where it's just this like organic development over time where you have these different kind of sections. And for me, New York in that way, like physically, is much more invigorating and inspiring. And DC, I love the places in DC, but the city itself just makes me feel kind of like monotone.
Huh, that's super interesting. I love it. So my grandmother lived in DC for a very long time, so we would visit her all the time, and it is very monotone.
Yeah.
Even down to like going back to like clothing, even down to like fashion, it's very monotone.
Very.
And then you go to New York, and it's like almost sensory overload, but in like a really cool way.
Yeah.
You see so many different things, and then you go 10 blocks down and it's a whole new world.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's an accident that the way that people dress and think is so varied alongside their built environment that's so varied. I mean, I don't think it's any accident that in DC you get more people wearing khakis and sneakers on the carpeted subway or the metro, I guess, versus then you go to New York and it's like you see all these different shoes and all these different crazy headpieces and jackets and boots. Yeah, and I think that our environments do encourage us in a certain direction. And so if we can be thoughtful about those environments, including our homes and our cities, then we can help kind of set ourselves on this trajectory in whatever direction we want to go.
It's awesome. And I think that kind of, I'm abandoning my questions. That kind of ties back into the influence that art has on our daily lives. I know for somebody who also works with art and works in an artistic realm, there is so much that drives decision making, so to speak. So like for me, when I go to an art museum, I like the structure of how everything is set up. Like this is this gallery and here's how these are arranged. Here's this and this is how it's arranged. I like that structure. And it translates for me into chaos. So there's I think it's Nietzsche quote that's paraphrase. One must always have chaos in your life. Like your life is always going to have a little chaos. And I think a lot of artists, for every structure that we have, there has to be a moment of like complete explosion. And art museums are like my place of I find my order, and that order leads me to my own creativity, which doesn't fit anything. I'm just like, I want to embroider right now, and I also want to watercolor in the embroidery, but I also want to like sew the garment that I'm embroidering. Like it just spirals.
Yeah.
And it doesn't ever stop. But that's like the chaos part for me is really exciting. And I know that that's a way that art makes me feel, and that's how I connect with art. But kind of like how does it make you feel? How does it connect to you?
Art, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So for me to even think about like what is art in relation to me is kind of an interesting question, because I am such a creatively minded person, and from such a young age it's been so like ingrained in how I approach everything. I mean, I think that making breakfast is creative. It might not be like an elevated art form or expression. You're just for me, I'm putting cereal in a bowl with almond milk and fruit, but I'm still creating something. And my mindset is that we are constantly creating, whether it's creating a conversation with someone, creating a schedule for the day, creating breakfast, or creating a work of architecture. And so I felt very kind of comfortable in that medium for so long that stepping outside of it, I'm kind of like, well, I don't know what isn't art, you know? But I do know that I got a degree in engineering in college, and I worked for 2 years in the private engineering sector out of college. And though it was creative in a sense because we were solving problems, it wasn't creative in terms of like a medium that had room to swirl around and be considered, you know, with free expression. And I didn't realize this until I left engineering after that second year, but I had almost like started to think differently, and I started to feel like a different person in my own body. And it took like 6 months after leaving engineering for me to realize, to feel like myself again, really. And I didn't even realize while I was in engineering that I had kind of let go of that. So I think that looking at that kind of story for me illustrates the power of art and the creative process, and that when I didn't have it as a part of my daily life and I was so focused on getting in all the hours at the engineering firm that I really just, you know, I fell flat a little bit.
Man, art's powerful. I think.
Yeah.
I think. So my friend, last week, she was like, "Yeah, I see, like, I see it every day. Like, you see it in your everyday life." She's just graduated from PA school. She's like, "I see it every day, but it's not like," she was like, "I'm not artistic. If I try to make something, like, it goes terribly wrong." But she was like, "But I appreciate it." And I think that's really important too, just in general public, in general, everybody, that appreciation of it and allowing yourself to go and not understand art. I think that's one of my favorite things to do. Like, I love being able to go look at something and go, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I see the work that goes into it and like the process. I see that, but I don't get it. And that's okay. And I think that is what we all have to remember at any time when we're viewing art, be it visual or even dance. Like, you don't have to get it. It doesn't have to make sense perfectly to you. It's just like something to feed you, something to make you think.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think there's also a divide that sometimes happens between a viewer and the art form. When a viewer like watches the ballet and they see these beautiful bodies just, you know, floating across the stage, it appears. And there's this incredible technique and the music and the lighting and the choreography, you know, it all comes together. And sometimes I feel like there's almost a reaction by the audience of, oh my gosh, that's so amazing what you do. I could never do that. And so they're almost separating themselves from this art. And I think that that's a little bit dangerous. And my encouragement is always to our clients to pull them into the process and to realize that anything that looks amazing as a final finished piece went through this iterative process. It wasn't one stroke of genius when the choreographer was just like, I have, you know, the pas de deux and it is ready to be danced. You know, there are elements, there's a process for understanding how, you know, the movement comes to be. And then there are other people involved to bring on the lighting. And there are all of these small strokes of genius along the way from people who have just opened themselves up to the possibilities. And those all come together in the end to create something amazing. And so I think it's important as much as we can to educate audiences that, you know, this same kind of process that brings about this amazing piece of art, you can incorporate in your daily life, you know, to create something. I look at a house that I've designed and I'm like, wow, that's really cool what came to be in the end. And I almost feel overwhelmed by it sometimes looking at it because it's just, it all fits. But then I have to remember that, you know, I think back to the process that brought that to be. And there was no one genius moment. It was just a lot of intentional, thoughtful moments that came together in the end with a little bit of experience and expertise, you know, to guide it. And then it comes to be.
I like that. I really like that. And I know growing up, my like parents' observation week as a dancer was my least favorite week ever. Like,
what is that? I don't even know.
Oh God, it's the worst thing. it's like the week of the ballet school or a month. It can be short, long, whatever. It's when your parents are allowed to come and watch class. And for me, class is my period of time for me to perfect my skills, to work on my skills. I make tons of mistakes in class. As a dancer, I only want you to see my final product. I don't want you to see my process because it's messy. There are a lot of tears involved. There's a lot of, like, you make a lot of mistakes. And I think we're conditioned at some point to not want to make mistakes. We want to always do the right thing or be perfect all the time. And you can't. It doesn't exist. So parents' observation week, I hated. I never wanted my parents to come. Mm-hmm. And they actually stopped coming. They did stop because I was like, I don't want you to see the process. I want you to see the end result, because I felt at the time that if they saw what I was putting myself through, they wouldn't be able to appreciate what I finished doing. Because it was like, she performed beautifully, but I remember her crying 3/4 of the time in the studio because it wasn't working. And so now, like, the way you say that, I'm like, okay, maybe like that process is part of the final product and important to the final product, because if nobody sees that it is hard and that you are doing a lot of work and that things do evolve, like the way you might count or interpret things the first time and how it comes out at the end is never the same.
Interesting. Yes, so, I would love to watch that process. To me, that's so interesting, and then that makes the final piece even more kind of awe-inspiring, because you got to understand all the humanness that weaves itself into this thing that might look perfect in the end, but really is deep rooted in this work.
I actually, honestly, with all that's happened, I kind of think that the process of creating dance is going to be a little bit more transparent, because we've gone from being on stage to all of a sudden not being on stage. And what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll dissect the process of how we take class every day, or how we, I don't know, cross train. Do a lot of that too. So I think there's a place for that too. But I feel like I need to apologize to my parents.
Oh.
You out of class. But it was probably really interesting. So
yeah. Well, and even that relationship with your parents was an important part of your process as a growing artist. So now you can look back and maybe have a new perspective. And it's cool that you weren't okay with that then. And now maybe you would be okay with that. I mean, that's its own artwork, right?
It's part of the process.
Yeah. It's all process.
It's all a process.
Yeah.
So I think I'd also like, one of my questions is your experiences with dance or ballet in particular. Are there any performances that stick out to you, or anything that like really was like, boom, made for Mitch?
Well, at the end of college, I started to get involved in musical theater for the first time. And I did my first show in college, and then for like maybe 7 years out of college, I did musical theater, like regional and local. And I was always cast as a dancer, despite my lack of technical dance training. But I had been like a springboard diver, a cheerleader, a swimmer, had a trampoline in my backyard. And I treated all of these sports as if they were more of like an art performance than actually a sport. Like, I just wanted my strokes to be beautiful. I didn't really care that I was that fast. So anyway, I was cast as a dancer, and then I was in this one show, an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, and I was cast as young Scrooge, which was a dancing role as a ballet dancer. Even though
Wait, did you dance with Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay.
I did dance with Kathleen. Yeah, and she was amazing. You know, like the female cast in the ballet role in musical theater was a legitimate trained ballet dancer. and I, as the male that was available, was the furthest thing from it. And so I was like, you know, doing my best to stumble around on stage and really work on the emotion of the part because the technique was not there. And so that was powerfully kind of like difficult in a way, because at the time I had ballet dancing friends. And then through knowing Curtis, I would photograph some of the ballets with Curtis or in his absence. So that's kind of how I was first introduced to the ballet. And it was so great to me because through Curtis, I got to meet the dancer. So I wasn't just watching this perfect thing on stage, and I, as a process person, love to actually know that person's personality off the stage, because to me, it made the dance that much more powerful. Whether they came outside of themselves or deeper into themselves in those moments was just like the, ah. So there's not like a single dance that really stands out. It's more just the experience of knowing people and then watching them dance and feeling that connection that like transcended the art form.
I love that, because so I also teach now. I've been teaching for like the past 2 years. And one of the things that I try my hardest to instill in my students is, before you are a dancer, you are you, and you're a human being. Mm-hmm. And you must develop who you are as a human being in order to be a good dancer. So like, you can be perfectly technically gifted and capable of doing Romeo and Juliet, but if you don't know who you are, how are you going to be Juliet? How are you going to emote such strong feelings for anything? Mm-hmm. Like, you have, like, for me, I'm like, you have to dig deep. And I think knowing, as a teacher, knowing my dancers and knowing when they accomplish something, like, you can tell on anyone's face when they accomplish something and they're proud of themselves. And you can tell when they're like, they do the, I'm proud of myself. I don't want anyone to like get upset with me because I'm proud of myself. I'm like, oh, no. You're also like, I love that moment of being proud of yourself and knowing that it's not an arrogant pride. Like, I think that's super cool. But I also think
power clashing.
Yes.
You own it, right?
Exactly.
Like, you're doing something fabulous, own it.
Yeah. But I think it's for, like, when I watch my friends dance, it isn't ever just me watching dance. It's me seeing that person pour themselves out on stage. And I think that's something that, as an audience, the dancers on stage are literally like 100% pouring out all that they are.
Yeah.
In front of everybody. Sometimes it's like the most vulnerable thing ever. But it feels so good to be that vulnerable in front of people. And I think, as an audience, it's almost an encouragement from the dancers to the audience. Be vulnerable. Like, allow yourself to pour out, because after you pour it all out, you get some of you back and you stand up a little taller, and then you go out there and you do it all over again.
Yeah. You learned that by pouring yourself out, you didn't die. You know, it didn't end everything. It's safe to pour yourself out. You know, not fully in all situations, but
yes,
you gain strength by pouring yourself out in healthy ways. Yes. I have a little dog who's moaning over here because he can't step over the light. All right.
Oh,
no. Okay. Got him. He's okay now.
All right. I would like to know, before we do our rapid fire questions, because I love them a little bit, I want to know the best advice you have received or given.
Ooh. Oh, or given?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not real big into advice. I'm like a gleaner. I like to watch people, listen to people talk about themselves, and kind of pull the best parts of that I want to incorporate into my life. The idea of someone giving me advice is a little off-putting, but I will say, yeah, because I think it's so much more powerful to watch someone and have them open up to you and then kind of be like, yeah, that thing you were just talking about, that's something that I could take and I could use. Instead of like, Mitch, you should do this. But I have signed up for masterclass recently during this pandemic situation. And surprisingly, I mean, I've always enjoyed RuPaul, but I started watching his masterclass because I was like, oh, this will be fun and easy and light. And it was fun, but easy and light, it was not. It was just powerful. It was dynamic. And during it, he says at one point, your job in this world is to find your own frequency and then to let it shine. You're not meant to fit in, you're meant to stand out. And this is a paraphrase, of course. But that just it was just a nice, succinct way to pull together a lot of the feelings I've been having recently about myself. And it's also really relevant to my work because I talk about honing in on a frequency with your space. But I haven't really taken it to hone in on a frequency in terms of who you are when you're trying to figure out your contribution to this world. So yeah, we'll call that advice.
I like that because there's never like the Instagram quote of like, here's a sentence to change your world. Like that doesn't really work.
No.
Because no world is a sentence, like no one's world is really that small, I guess. Those sentences help, but nobody, and if it is, I encourage you to find an expansion of your world because your world should not be able to be filtered by a sentence.
Yeah, language should be descriptive, not defining.
Yes. No more boxes.
No more boxes.
Something. Actually, before I do our rapid fire questions,
okay.
So for all of our viewers, I wanted to share Mitch's space. Mitch is really, so he's got a really great organization in his space, which I have learned through his Instagram. But he's got one of the coolest features on his planet, in my opinion, my humble opinion. So Mitch, can you tell us about the coolest part of your house? The coolest.
Sure. I will take you on a little.
The beings who dwell in it.
Yeah. All right. So the lighting won't be quite as good, but okay. So over here on the wall by my front door. So first, my front doors, which you cannot see now, are sliding glass doors. So I had never seen that before, and I thought of it, and I said, yes, I'm doing it. But here on the wall, I have 2 playground swings that sit on these hooks, and they are there because in my ceiling, and I hope you can see, there is a beam. Can I do this? Okay, yeah. There's a beam across here that has hooks for playground swings, and one of the 3 swings is already up right now. So right now my space is reorganized for Corona, for the quarantine, because I just wanted to mix it up. But I have this swing that hooks on my light fixture when not in use. Well, can I do this? Okay. All right. Got the swing down.
It's so fun.
There we go. Can you see it? Okay. So there's the swing in the middle of my living room. And so it's amazing. Well, I can open the curtains. Why not? We'll see if you can get the effect. Yeah. Well, anyway, you can open up the front doors and you can swing here in the middle of my living room and feel like you're just one with the outdoors. And you can have up 3 swings at the same time. And my sofas are on casters, if you can see that. So they roll around and they have lots of different configurations. So you just roll the sofas out of the way. I'm out of breath. And you can swing and it's a good time. And also by these hooks, you can see there's another hook. So they're opposite sides here and they are for a hammock. So you can also have a hammock going in the house at the same time as the swings if you want.
Mitch, that's so fun. So I love the swings, and I think the first time I went to your house, one or two of them might have been up, and I was just like, I never in a million years would have thought, let me put swings in the living room. But it's like a super cool focal piece, but it's also to me, a testament to like youthfulness, to enjoying the space that you live in to its fullest. So you're like, what do I like to do? Or what, I mean, think about like, I thought about swinging when I was little. I would swing as high as I possibly could. And I got that thrill of jumping off the swing at the top of your swing that normally breaks people's arms, but I never did that, knock on wood. But that like thrill of just like, for a moment you were flying. For a moment you were like invincible. And then to take that like feeling and put it into an adult space and still feel like you can be a child, like have those, I say childish thoughts, but like, I don't mean like childish thoughts. I mean like that youthfulness, and before your creativity is stifled and before you have to like channel it succinctly anywhere. It's just like,
before you have to adult.
Yes, for me, it's, I guess it's the chaos. Like,
I love it.
Order of your home, there is still a little bit silliness, and I love it.
Oh, I'm so glad that it's so nice to hear your words of your experience. The intention is very much because we run the business out of the house. And well, first of all, I just wanted the swings for myself. I have a trampoline in the backyard, I have swings on the inside. I'd love to have more apparatuses. But, and actually, I'll tell you this. I'd almost forgotten this. During the renovation of this house, so this is like a little 1949 bungalow. During the renovation, I asked the plumber and electrician and HVAC contractors to keep all of the stuff out of the middle of the space below the floor, because one day I wanted to have a retractable floor that had a trampoline in it. And I was like bound and determined to make this happen. Yeah. This
you
was
have the ceiling space. I'm not going to discourage that at all.
Yeah. Well, because as a kid, I loved the trampoline. It was like you jumping off the swing as a kid was like me being on the trampoline. I always wanted to be a gymnast, was never a gymnast, but on my trampoline, I could be a gymnast, and I flipped and twisted and all that kind of stuff. So I always, as a kid, wished that when it was raining, I would have this big tarp contraption of a tent over my trampoline so I could still jump. And so I incorporated that in the swings, but I didn't quite get to the trampoline level. One day.
It's still awesome. It's still awesome. All right. Thanks. We'll do these rapid fire questions because it's getting late on the East Coast.
Okay.
So talking or texting?
Talking, in person only.
Okay. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Animals.
How long does it take you to get ready?
7.5 minutes.
Invisibility or super strength?
Super strength.
Is it wrong for vegetarians to eat animal crackers?
No, it's not wrong for them to eat meat.
Scale from 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping secrets?
10. 100.
100. Mm-hmm. Dawn or dusk?
Dusk.
Place you most want to travel?
Philippines.
Ooh, pretty.
Mm-hmm. Like the over the water in the Philippines.
Wait, where?
The huts that are like over the water in the Philippines, and you open your door and you're like there. You can swim with the fish. There.
Let's do it. Favorite childhood TV show?
Family Matters.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? TGIF. Whoop whoop.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Yes.
Why can't we tickle ourselves?
We can.
Agreed. I agree. I believe that we can.
Yeah.
What's the best age?
The best age. Like age, like years of age?
It's open to interpretation.
This one?
I like that one because I'm like, the Stone Age. I don't know, just being silly.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm so excited to be alive right now. I think this is an amazing, like, pivotal moment in history.
Agreed. I think, yeah, like on all, everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow, he's special. Uh, if Voldemort offered you a hug, would you accept?
Whoa. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather cuddle a baby panda or a baby penguin?
Penguin.
Would you want to live forever?
I think I will.
Big dogs or small dogs?
Small.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
9.
What's your favorite carb? Bread, pasta, rice, or potatoes?
Potatoes as French fries.
Okay, good choice. Stale Sour Patch Kids or fresh circus peanuts?
Stale Sour Patch Kids.
That's my choice every time. What's your favorite car?
Car. Convertible. BMW. Old.
Old. Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at wiffle ball?
Not. Oh wait, no, I took it in 6th grade in PE. I was decent. Yeah. That's the ball that has the hole in it?
The holes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm good at wiffle ball. I got that. Basketball, no. Wiffle ball, yes.
Yes, because when it goes up, it slows down. You don't get to get in the face. Yeah. That's how my experience with it. It slows down so your face is a little safer. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
Never any.
Okay, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I would be a scary person with caffeine.
What's your ideal outside temperature?
90.
Ooh, me too. I love it when it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the humidity, I don't mind.
Nope.
Give me the heat.
Favorite
type of muffin?
Chocolate chip.
Ooh. If you were given an all-expense paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
Yeah.
Tapas or pasta?
Tapas.
When people stand for a standing ovation, are you usually one of the earlier people to stand up or later?
Either one of the first ones or I don't stand up at all.
Okay. This one's exceptional for your house. If there's a spider in your house, do you kill it or set your house on fire?
Well, I vacuum it up with the little dust buster and then empty it in the toilet. So I guess I figure I'll let it figure out in like the sewer system whether or not it's going to live. I don't want to be in charge of that.
I'm going to scream about it. I'm going to try to put a cup on it and I'm going to throw the cup from like 10 feet away and it's going to miss. And then I'm going to just hide or leave and know I'm like, it's going to leave / hide somewhere in my home and get me. So I need a house. I can't burn it down, but that spider cannot be there. I can't know where it is.
Wow. Okay.
I hate them. They're scary. But they're good for us, but I don't like them. Polka dots or stripes?
Stripes.
Would you go to a movie alone?
Yes.
If you were given the opportunity to fly into space, given today's technology, would you take it?
Nah.
Would you rather come face to face? This is important. So, preface, these two options are the exact same size.
Okay.
Would you rather come face to face with a miniature hippopotamus or a giant cockroach? Both are in a bad mood.
Hippopotamus.
Okay, good. Who's your favorite Harry Potter character?
Oh, I don't know her name, but she's the floaty, like, blonde girl who's like, da, 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 da.
Luna?
Yes, Luna. Sorry, I didn't know her name.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's great. She actually fits our power clash, I think.
Yeah.
She lets go of the box. There is no box for Luna.
Yeah.
She wants to wear radishes for earrings. She does it.
Totally. And she, not only in her clothing, but I think in her like way she operates, right? Like she's not worried about what other people think and what you're supposed to do. The should. Mm-mm.
She's living her best life.
Yeah.
I like it. Good choice. Good choice.
Thank you.
Not that my opinion ever matters.
Yeah. Well, it's still nice to be affirmed.
Yes. What sound would you make when you were freezing cold?
Ugh.
Same.
Yeah.
Mine is like a gruntle yell.
Yeah, I hate it. When I'm cold, I think I'm never going to be warm again. This is what my brain tells me.
It's like, this is the end.
Yeah.
And that's the sound I make.
Oh, I like that.
It's like slash anger, but like also like don't die, but I'm angry. When eating a formal meal with multiple forks, do you start from the outside or inside?
Outside.
Again, Sour Patch Kids or Swedish Fish? These aren't stale.
Sour Patch Kids.
Scale from 1 to 10, how good are you at trivia?
1.
Super Mario Brothers or Zelda?
Zelda.
What temperature would you like your thermostat at?
74.
Me too.
Really?
Mine's only 77 right now, but that's because I left the door open and I really kind of love the extra warmth. So.
Okay. Yeah, 72 is cold for me. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. One of my friends was like in the 60s. I was like, that's freezing. How you gonna live?
No.
Which animal adds more joy to the world? Squirrels or llamas?
I think squirrels. There's so many more of them, of which I'm aware.
Yeah, and they're kind of cute.
Yeah, and I don't ever see llamas, and I see squirrels all the time. So they add more joy to me. Therefore, that's all I know.
Well, llamas will spit in your face, so.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of salty. They're cute. You can make fun llama puns, but they will spit in your face.
Yeah. Now, but if you had said alpacas or squirrels, I would have said alpacas, because those little critters are just like, I think they're from another world.
They're so cute with their little fuzzy heads.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. I won't do that because that's like an unfair fight for the squirrel.
Right. Good call.
And finally, how do you feel about cranberries?
Love them in juice, hate them as like straight up fruit.
As I say, I like juice. I like homemade cranberry sauce, cranberry relish, and the canned. I have no discrimination. I'll eat them all.
Oh.
But will I pop a raw cranberry in my mouth? Absolutely not. No.
I've tried that. It was not good.
No.
Yeah, and I love cranberry juice as a mixer because it will cut the flavor of alcohol so well. It's very effective, but not cocktail. Do not buy cranberry cocktail. Buy cranberry 100% juice. It's a world of difference.
Yes. Yes.
I will not drink cranberry cocktail. Do not give me cranberry juice on a plane. That is not cranberry juice.
You want that glass bottle.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, not that one. No, that one's crazy. I mean the one. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Let's be specific. So I like the Ocean Spray 100% juice that's cranberry.
Oh.
Which means actually quite a bit of it's apple. But what I don't like is the sugar water that they call cranberry juice cocktail that's like 5% juice and the rest is just sugar water.
See, I like that glass bottle cranberry juice that you have to dilute it with regular water because I'm weird. I like nasty.
Wow. I thought I would like that and I keep buying it and each time it's way too overpowering for me.
Put it in a smoothie.
Okay.
But I like to just mix mine with water. You could probably mix it with like tonic water too. I've never tried that yet.
Yeah.
But like, I like tart things. Like I like grapefruit without sugar. Like I'll put a lime in my mouth. I like tart things.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
But yeah.
I think on the scale of 1 to tart, I'm pretty close to tart. But probably not as extreme as you.
But I stopped. So like warheads are too much.
Oh, yeah. That just burns your.
Oh yeah, it's just like unnecessary. But like those like good sour candies, like the sour and the good sour candy is like, that's what I'm looking for.
Perfect. I'm with you.
But this was so much fun. I had a really good time.
Me too. Hey, I didn't show you my outfit, Power Clash.
Oh, please do.
I'm wearing my bright orange shoes.
Are those shiny?
Yes, they're Pumas.
Oh, I love it.
Da, da. Anyway.
And it matches, the pistachios go really well with that too.
Yes, here we go. Lovely.
Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on your show, Carmen. This is fun, and it's fun to get to know you more.
I know. But when I get home to Raleigh, if I get home to Raleigh, I should be home at some point. Let's hang out. Let's do something.
Yes, definitely. Required.
Excellent. All right. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks.
And we'll hang out soon.
Hey, best of luck with your show and your future episodes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be tuning in.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Good night, Carmen.
Good night, Mitch.